The Switch 2 hasn't been officially revealed or announced yet, but Nintendo did acknowledge its existence and give us some sort of idea of when we could expect it. And on top of that, so much about this thing has leaked that we have a pretty reasonable idea of what this thing is probably going to look like and what's going to be inside of this thing. Usually I like to refrain from making a whole main channel video on rumors, but these seem legitimate enough and I have a lot of thoughts on them. And also, this channel was kind of built on Switch 1 rumors, so consider this a throwback, I guess. The main thing that's getting the most attention is the look of the device. A user posted CAD renders on a Chinese social media site, which eventually made its way over to Family Boards, where it was said that the original poster said that they obtained a shell model from an accessory manufacturer at great cost, they said. So you should take this with a grain of salt, even if this does look like something that could exist in the real world. Later, we got a photo of prototype shells and also a board layout. There's a lot about this that feels real, that looks like prototype plastic that I've seen before. I'd like to echo what Digital Foundry said about this on Twitter. Why would anybody go through the trouble of faking a board layout? That would be a lot of work for just a little goof. And I don't think this is the board of another random device that they took and put into this picture to make it look legitimate. What other company do you know that has a battery compartment that small other than Nintendo? Every other tablet that you see has a battery that takes up a lot of the inside. And I don't really think the battery size is going to be anything to be concerned about. This thing is going to be way underclocked. Nintendo loves using last year's hardware at way less than its full potential. I'd imagine that the battery life on this thing would probably be pretty decent, which was a major criticism of the original Nintendo Switch when that thing first came out. People were criticizing it for only getting 3 hours of battery life, which, by comparison, is kind of a lot considering we're lucky to get 45 minutes out of a PC handheld. We do have leaked specs, which I definitely want to get to, but first, I went on a little journey for these CAD files myself. There's a Chinese YouTuber that 3D printed a mock-up, so I figured it couldn't be too hard to find those files. Turns out it was impossible. If these files ever actually did exist on the internet, Nintendo did a great job getting their lawyers to completely scrub them. If you want to go on your own journey downloading stuff off of websites you don't understand the language of, probably don't, but you could also use a VPN. That's right, cue the music. This video is sponsored by
Surfshark! 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 Surfshark!
If you want to watch Japanese Netflix or watch content that's blocked in your country, you can do that with Surfshark. Among other things like protect yourself from some shady websites. Surfshark can do these things. Download Surfshark to do these things, yeah. If you want to block someone on your network from tracking your data or seeing what you're doing, you can encrypt your data, then cheat on your wife. You could cheat on your wife.
Why would I cheat on my wife?
Surfshark can do these things. Download
Can you hear me?
Surfshark to
Hello?
do these things.
Why would you hello?
Can do these things. Download Surfshark can do these things. Yeah, Surfshark can do these things. Yeah, you should download Surfshark if you want to do these things.
Surfshark 1 gets you their VPN, private web search, data leak alerts, and their antivirus. There's no risk to trying Surfshark, and they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Secure your privacy with Surfshark. Enter code DEN for 4 extra months at surfshark.deals/DEN. Or click the link below and try Surfshark today.
Download Surfshark if you want to do these things. You can download Surfshark.
I'm telling you, it's just a song. No, I don't know where it's coming from either. No, I'm not cheating on you. Babe! Damn you, Surfshark! What was I saying? So there's screenshots that have been circulating around from XNZ's YouTube video where they 3D printed a model based off of pictures from those CAD files that had been circulating. So this could be a game of telephone that might skew some proportions a little bit. I took those screenshots and traced them, furthering this game of telephone. Then I measured it up against the Joy-Con 3D file that I had for size comparison, and that's how I got this. I printed it in a way where I could still fit the internals of a current Joy-Con into it. Which was a huge bitch, and I did a terrible job. But we're just doing this for size comparison's sake. Well, you'll notice on the leaked images, the thumbstick and the buttons are slightly larger. Hopefully this means they'll go with a different thumbstick design altogether. Other changes include the L and R buttons being larger, taking up more of the side of the device, and the ZL and ZR buttons being low and kind of massive as well. The Joy-Con rails are also rumored to be magnetic now, so there's a big button that will activate or deactivate the electromagnet, but it looks like it'll sort of lock inside the main tablet, so there's plenty of meat to hold it in place. There is also an additional button. Nobody knows what this button's for. It looks just like the share button. Having an additional share button doesn't really make any sense. You do lose the share button if you're only playing with one Joy-Con, but if you're gonna double up on a button, wouldn't the home button make a lot more sense? That's a lot more of an important button. People in the live podcast chat this week speculated that it could be a microphone on-off button because this new Switch 2 is rumored to have a mic both in the Joy-Con and also on, I think, either the console or the dock itself. If we want to get real tinfoil hat for a second and do some pie in the sky dreams, this button could be a cast button, maybe? The Switch 2 was rumored to have a second screen, which I think is ridiculous, and that rumor is probably not true, but it would make sense if maybe that leaker confused the second screen for just casting to your TV. This extra button could just not be a button at all. Maybe it could be a sensor. Nintendo just recently filed for FCC approval of a human presence sensing device. It could have something to do with that. We know that Nintendo just loves shoving a ton of technology into the Joy-Con that will rarely get used. These new Joy-Con will almost certainly have some sort of wacky gimmick in them that will only get used by one launch game, and then we'll never hear anything about these features ever again. I'd imagine if there is a human presence sensing device, it would make more sense to be in the dock or something. So back to the size, these Joy-Con comparatively look larger, but when you're holding it, it doesn't feel any different at all. If you blindfolded someone and told them to use this, they probably wouldn't even notice a difference. They'd probably think it was a regular Joy-Con. The tell might be the larger thumbsticks and buttons, but this mock-up that I made doesn't have the larger buttons because the internals are the same as the old Joy-Con. This also probably isn't 100% accurate. I traced a trace of a trace, you know? And when I worked out some of the dimensions based off of the screen size, these Joy-Cons might be ever so slightly larger than the ones that I even printed. I'm personally happy with the buttons being physically larger. I got very large, meaty, grubby man hands. And the Joy-Con buttons are remarkably small. They might be the smallest button in any Nintendo device. The only ones that I can think are equally as small is the Switch Lite. I really don't like using the Joy-Con, so maybe having the whole thing and the buttons being bigger will make me have a better experience with them. But I understand some people have smaller hands, and that might be an issue for them. Maybe they like the way the Joy-Cons are currently, but I know most people don't. The screen is rumored to be 8.8 inches diagonally. The original Nintendo Switch has a 6.2-inch screen, and the Switch OLED has a 7-inch screen. So this is a significant change. Unfortunately, I don't have like a real device of similar specs. The Lenovo Legion Go's screen is 8.8 inches, but it's a 16:10 aspect ratio, so it's completely different. The Switch 2 screen will be a bit shorter and wider. I have a ton of powerful handhelds now, and I still love the portability of the Switch, although I've been gravitating towards devices with big screens because I'm old and my sight's going. I wake up, I stare at my phone, then I go, up, time to clock into work, and then I stare at the computer, and then I go, up, time to clock out, and then I stare at a gamepad all day. A larger Switch screen would be helpful, but it'll probably only be like a 1080p screen, which is double the resolution of the last Switch, but it's really not that much by today's standards. 8.8 inches is big, but you're really not going to see that much detail in anything over 1080p anyway. But if you're looking at the PC handheld space, 1080p, that spec probably isn't going to be that impressive to you. And that's going to be the theme here when we read off all of the rest of the rumored specs. If you've paid attention to the PC handheld space or you've watched any video on this channel in the past 2 years, you're probably not going to be impressed with any of the stuff that I'm about to read. But it's really not a fair comparison. These are specs that were leaked on the same social media site where the CAD render pictures were leaked. Some of these specs were also corroborated by previous leaks that came from parts manufacturers in China that had to order a bunch of these parts in order to make the damn thing. Only recently I've been collecting these rumors and like writing down who's saying what. Everything I'm about to say came from that Chinese social media site that was then posted on Family Boards and then was posted on r/gaming leaks and rumors. But if I've heard about it previously, I'll put a little thing down here saying where I heard it from previously. The Switch 2, according to this, will have 12 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM. I'm honestly impressed that it's LPDDR5X RAM, but I'm very unimpressed that it's only 12 gigabytes. That's less than every PC handheld, and even newer ones are coming out with even more RAM than that. But that's Nintendo. We gotta remember that they're always using last year's hardware at way less than its full potential. So we've just gotta get used to that when we're reading all of this. 256 gigabytes of internal storage, which is a lot considering the original Switch only had 32 gigabytes. But it's not a lot when you look at any other device on the market. Luckily, Nintendo's really good at compressing their games. Echoes of Wisdom, brand new game, just came out, 5.6 gigabytes. That's crazy small. Tears of the Kingdom, only 16 gigabytes. That's their biggest game. So 256 gigabytes is probably going to be enough for you. Unless Call of Duty comes to the Switch and f***s everything up, then you're going to need a micro SD card. It will be able to convert DisplayPort to HDMI, and it will support HDMI 2.1, but I don't think it will be able to convert to HDMI without a dock because Nintendo doesn't like to play fair a lot of the time. I wouldn't expect this having HDMI 2.1 to mean that they're going to utilize the full bandwidth of HDMI 2.1. I don't even think there's going to be a game on this thing that's going to run at 4K 60 frames per second. And I would be even more surprised if they mention 4K in any of the marketing material at all. And I would love more information on the dock, but we don't have any information on that at all, other than that it exists. I would also love for it to be a non-proprietary dock. I would like to be able to plug this new Nintendo Switch 2 into any USB-C device. There's no reason to make it proprietary. There is also rumored to be 2 SKUs of this new Nintendo Switch 2. People are getting wildly speculative about that, but realistically, it's probably just 2 colors. There is a rumor that there's just going to be a black version and a white version, which is very unexciting. I remember when the original Switch came out, I wanted the gray one because I was like, I'm an adult. I don't need a fun color. And then I saw what the neon ones looked like in person, and I realized I f***ed up pretty bad. Usually I'm very skeptical about this stuff, but the reason that I think that these leaks seem so plausible is that they're pretty mundane. There's nothing really exciting about this. It looks just like a regular old Nintendo Switch with some extra upgrades. The original Switch launch back in 2017 was wild. It was so different than anything we've ever seen before. Having the option to play at home on a TV and take your games portably was revolutionary. Now, 7.5 years later, it's not. It's expected. If a game doesn't have this flexibility, I don't want to play it. This new Switch 2 is shaping up to be the same Switch we already like, but a little bit better. I'm sure it'll play games a lot better than the current Switch, but that isn't really saying much at all. Even the new Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is playing choppy.
It keeps going from like really chunky to like it smooths out for a moment or two. Like right there, it got smooth, and then chunky, and then smooth. Smooth, it's like smooth-ish right here, and then chunkster down here. Switch 2 can't come soon enough, huh?
We're in the 7th year of the console, and this was built on the bones of a game you made so many years ago. But in the past, Nintendo has proven that they can do a lot with their hardware limitations, and they will continue to do so. The Pokemon Company could learn a thing or two about that. I love my Steam Deck and my Windows handhelds because of the versatility they provide. And I also like the power that they have. But I also like the Switch for its simplicity. I get really excited to jump back into the Switch whenever a new game comes out. Exclusivity can be a bit frustrating, but I don't mind it too much with the Nintendo because I get the same sort of flexibility with my Switch that I do with my Steam Deck. I can play it docked at my desk, I can play it on my TV, or I can play it handheld anywhere. I can kind of play it however I want, and I like that. This is in direct opposition to my PlayStation. Anytime I think about playing an exclusive game over there, I cringe a little bit. You mean if I want to play this game in bed, I gotta stream it to my portal? If you're thinking about upgrading from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, you shouldn't have to worry about your library carrying over too much. Nintendo has expressed interest in making that transition very easy, having some sort of unified account system between the two platforms. It's not 100% confirmed that it's going to work that way, but they've expressed interest, and Nintendo would be insane to not have a system where you can carry your purchases over in this day and age. It was rumored years ago that the new Switch 2 would be using the Tegra 2 chip, an upgraded version of the previous SoC that was in the last Switch. We don't know what chip's gonna be in this thing. It's not listed in the parts list, so this is a big question mark for us. But if the RAM is any indication, it's probably gonna be a pretty low power chip. I'd imagine that they chose whatever chip they're using with backwards and forward compatibility in mind. I'd imagine that they want to make it very easy for developers to migrate their current projects over to the new hotness. It's exciting to get new hardware from Nintendo. It feels like it's been forever, but it's not as exciting as it was 7 years ago because that was revolutionary, and this just feels like more of the same. But I'm still excited to play the new games on the new Nintendo thing. Some people ask me if I'm going to cover the Switch 2 like I did the Switch 1. Basically, all of my videos were about the Switch 1 when that thing came out. I think the answer is definitely no. It would be ridiculous to just hard switch to a Nintendo-focused channel. There are just so many more devices competing with my time and probably your time. But I will definitely be covering it at least a little bit. The way that I approach ideas for videos is a Venn diagram, if you will. There's things that I'm interested in, and there's things that I think that you will be interested in. And the video ideas need to be somewhere in the middle. Sometimes they're a little close to here, sometimes they're a little close to here, but they're always within the middle of the Venn diagram. And I'd imagine we're probably going to be pretty interested in the Switch 2. If I had to take a guess on when we're going to see a reveal, I would say maybe sometime in October. There's not a lot of games coming out anymore after Echoes of Wisdom. And I've never been wrong about stuff like this, except for that physical DS backwards compatibility. I got that a little wrong. What do you guys think about these Switch 2 leaks and rumors? Do you think there's anything that I got wrong, or there's anything that's gonna be different, or there's anything that's gonna work different, or is there anything that you wish would be different about it? Is this something that you're just not interested in? Are you not gonna move on from your Switch 1? Are you not gonna move on from your Steam Decks and your ROG allies? Leave it in the comments below, at me on Twitter, any and all of this other social media garbage. If you're interested in the Switch 2 topic, there's a much longer discussion that we had over on the Wulff Den podcast this week. We do that live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on that YouTube channel and also on twitch.tv/WulffDen. And tonight on Twitch, I'll be playing Echoes of Wisdom, and I might try to play it on Steam Deck. Thanks for hanging out. See you later. Bye.